Hello, collective. Welcome to the channel. It's October 12th, 2025, and I'm back with another message. And please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger. So, what sounded like a younger masculine stated the word queers, and somebody stated the word predatory. So I guess not a blanket, sweep of what people think of as queers, but as predatory queers, it sounds like, is a topic. Somebody that sounds like the curator is trying to convince another or a group of others about current oracles, prophetesses, prophets. He is saying or insisting that they are the witches in the cauldron, around the cauldron. So he's trying to convince somebody that the prophetesses, the prophets, the oracles are the witches around the cauldron. And that is just a crappy projection and an attempt at an illusion. Their mirror magic isn't sticking. It's cracking under the light of the sun within these source-connected children divine. They're not the witches around the cauldron. They don't do that type of a thing. You don't do that type of a thing when you're source-connected on God's time. You're not out there trying to manipulate things and run it, according to your own ego. You're waiting to be brought into alignment for whatever it is that God has for you next. And this guy who's been harvesting the world for centuries of its energy is trying to convince somebody that the oracles are the witches around the cauldron. See, these people have been jumping back and forth through time, burning witches or wise women or oracles and prophetesses at the stake. They've been brutalizing people who have made this transition difficult. So I think that they've been using this reset as a way to sort out who has this source connection. And then they try to copycat and flip and pay, and then replace with these marriage contracts. And they've been doing it over and over and over again. Doesn't look like it's going to work this time. I think that the creator has had enough. It's like the mirror magic rituals that they tried to stick to the stars and the suns who don't do magic to harm anyone, aren't sticking. And again, they're talking about responsibilities. They don't believe that the divine feminine can handle responsibility. These are warmongers, and the feminine doesn't really operate from a state of a war mindset. She's more about bringing forth life and nurturing it peacefully. And these ones, they like their domineering ways. They've been called happiness haters. And the Mother Divine prefers it when her children can have a happy home. Last night, they were taunting about retrieving hostages from Hamas. This war-ravaged realm has been manifested this way because these masculines worship war, suffering, and death. This system of things simply needs to be ended. This weird collaboration that they have amongst each other has just got to stop. They trade hostages back and forth. It's a continuous loop of suffering that they've all agreed upon somehow is responsible ways of being with each other. In the United States of America, somebody is saying, she can do whatever she wants. The Constitution protects certain rights. So these ones are targeting a magistrate within the United States. They really want to silence this person. While the Constitution supports specific rights, it does not condone, I guess, terrorism. And they've been toying with the idea of accusing this psychic of espionage. Or they're worried about it. So they want to convince a psychic or an oracle of espionage, because they have the ability to hear certain things. And, the thing is that these entities choose to wake up people in the midnight hour with these conversations. And it's so wild to me. It's like myself, I don't go searching for these conversations. I'm rudely woken up every night and kept awake for hours with these conversations. I don't go into anybody else's mindset with a group of folks and say, hey, what are we going to do about the Divine Feminine today? I don't do that. But these ones certainly feel that they, the mental body of the people, they feel that they can just go into and have conversations anytime they want to, and then accuse the person that they're having the meeting, the mind in the room they're having the meeting in. They want to accuse these activities and conversations of taking place when it is they who are trespassing into this space of divine essence and talking about this gibberish. So they're worried about being listened to because they're criminals. This strange envy and need to tear down the Divine Feminine, who is here in service as God has ordained her to be, have abused the children, many of them while being dressed as a mother, to twist their minds regarding the Divine Mother. So this is my understanding, and I don't know because I'm not trans, and I'm not. I figure that most people are two-spirited, right? They got a healthy balance of the masculine and feminine energies within themselves, and some are of the more masculine nature, what some people might consider a tomboy. They do man jobs, or they enjoy the more intense things like, I don't know, javelin throwing or something. I don't know. Take it as it resonates. And then you got so anyway, here's the thing. Trans was the task of this curator. His job was to bring trans families together from his own mouth. This is what he stated. Now, trans is where somebody actually rejects themselves, and they try to rebuild themselves as the opposite gender. So they try to do away with everything that God gave them upon birth, just insisting that it wasn't right, that there was something wrong. And they rejected not only their temple, their flesh temple, but the mission that they were here to accomplish while being challenged with those specific set of circumstances and such. So trans is a rejection of self, and it's a kind of at times, and it has been pushed, encouraged by this system of governing to mutilate the temple in ways to kind of achieve this rewriting of self. And this trans thing also it's hypersexualized. Like, this whole idea is hypersexualized. That's its foundation, which we all know is the root and the sacral, and it's passionate, it's fiery, it's fight or flight, it's survival mode, it's sort of chaos, raging, oftentimes mismanaged, mishandled, misunderstood, and just on fire all the time, burning stuff down. Now, two-spirited people, which most of us are, have the yin and yang, and it's usually you've done the work to bring harmony between those two halves within you. Like, you could be a feminine portraying dominant masculine energy, but you could be a masculine who is more gentle and kind and nurturing, but whatever that is in a two-spirited person, it's harmonized. It's residing on a foundation which is balanced and source connected. Absolutely. Because in a two-spirited person, they don't reject themselves. They are balanced, fully integrated energies, the divine feminine and divine masculine within this flesh temple, sacredly connected to source. It's not hypersexual. It's focused on adding value to the soul and to the community in which it resides. So trans is about, where did I write that? It's about, two spirits are about expansion. So you're expanding into the two, right? Which are whole, and you kind of do what you do with those energies. And it's not hypersexual. It's focused on that connection with the upper chakras, and the harmonization and balance and powerful output of those chakras, and the connection of the crown with source divine, receiving your sacred messaging. And it's fueled by the passion of the root and sacral. So its foundation isn't the root and sacral. Its foundation is all of the upper, more potent and pure energies of love, of guidance, of this connected to source, trustworthy presence, which leads you. So there's no real agenda to affect the sexuality of others. Typically, a two-spirited person isn't going to base their conversations around sexuality. They're probably not even going to bring it up or have a conversation about it, because they're focused on the heart. They're focused on building something with the power center, the solar plexus. They're focused on speaking truth. They're focused on seeing clearly. They're focused on their connections to source divine, and keeping that sacred and balanced and temperance energy, fueled by the passion of the root and the sacral. And there may not even be any kind of intimate union with anybody. It could just very well be harmonized and balanced within self. Pure. Sacred living is far more than sex and sexual preference. And I know that this is a touchy topic, and I hope that I didn't offend anybody, but that's my understanding. And I don't mean to negatively speak about anybody or anything. I think there's a lot of confusion that has been fueled by misrepresentation of authority. So this whole realm, it appears, has been built on the sexual energies. It's like everything has been sexualized, everything. So these energies which have been harvested, these people who harvest energies, they're very much into dream lovers, these experiences where they can go in and tap in and harvest somebody's signature, their energetic signature, and then do stuff with that energetic signature, that power source, and then, lay the blame and the shame for that deed onto the energy producer. A transference of their sin, their evil deeds, because they've used the energy of a sleeper who happened to have a dream and an orgasm or something. a foundation built on harvested sexual energy is unstable. It's anger, it's rage, it's volatile, it's in scavenger mode, fight or flight, steal, take, consume, or, because the mindset is that it will be done, whatever they're thinking, they're worried about happening to them. So they do it to others before it can happen to them, is what I'm guessing. And now their worst nightmare is coming true, it appears, because everything that they have done is going to happen to them. So while being volatile, it may appear to be powerful while it is in its explosive state. For the most part, it's very destructive, especially when it's wielded, especially as it's wielded here. For a solid foundation, it must be built on all of the other chakras, the upper heart, solar plexus, crown, third eye, throat, fueled by the passion of the root and sacral. Fuel for the fire of the soul. Fuel for the higher fire of the heart, the love. Fuel for the fire of the solar plexus, the creation energy and power source. So again, they were talking about the siblings of those stable suns and stars, those who they can no longer affect with their interfering attempts. And I pray once more that they are safe and protected. Be wary, because if there's been a history of some strange animosity, or if there's some kind of jealousy from this sibling regarding an inheritance, or maybe they feel that you were favored or something, and they're angry about that, and they have been forever. You might want to be careful if this person attempts to come into your energy, because they may be driven to commit a crime of passion, especially if there is that jealousy. Have your guard up and expect an Agent Smith to be inhabiting that mind, that body, because that's who will be there. They're talking about stability, and the curator was told this temple, which is a light body. So apparently the curator and his ideas about the way things ought to go for the people are shifting. So this temple, stable, secure, light-filled, balanced, harmonized, peaceful, loving. You don't bother anybody. And it's very different from the lower vibrational temples that do not have this vibrancy in it. They live from sort of a chaos. Like I said, with the sexual energy, it's a very unstable, volatile foundation. They're not the same. It's like the human being who is that has the energy of the sun within them are no longer required to adhere to this curator's perception of their presence, their own being. The curator is talking about the Constitution again, and he keeps talking about her needing medicine. He's leaning on this concept very heavily. There's something here regarding the synthetic medicines that he's leaning very heavily on. He's been speaking as though this medicine is a connector or a bridge, and he thinks that he owns the energy of this connector, this bridge. He thinks that he can use this medicine as a bridge into your new timeline, and then steal your identity and your position and your authority and your wealth and all of that. So he thinks that he can utilize this medication as a bridge into your, apparently you have taken a quantum leap into a new system. He apparently uses this medication as a bridge into your elevation. He's using it as a doorway for timeline jumping. So there's got to be a way to disconnect this dream or this avenue of connecting to timelines he doesn't belong on. He hasn't earned the right to be there. He doesn't possess the privilege. He hasn't earned the right. But I'm sure God can figure it out. So this is what it is. He's using synthetic medicines that most people are on, especially if in the United States, as a bridge to wherever they wind up. And he feels that he owns the consciousness that is using this medicine. They're discussing the mental body of this woman. They want access to this field of consciousness. They want to attack her so that she has to go to the hospital. So that could very well be what these, so earlier I had the vision of the 5 brown-skinned men. They were saying that they were going to learn the neighborhood Anna. They've been talking about suicide notes, and apparently they've decided that they just want to attack her and do damage to her so that she winds up in the hospital, where they can then what? Declare her brain dead, harvest organs, do whatever they want with the fluids, and the soul and the spirit. Because once you get in the hospital, it's kind of like jail. You're trapped and at their mercy, especially if they have knocked you out with some kind of a drug. This is the message. I hope that it brings clarity to something that you already intuitively knew. And I'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye.